What is up, everyone? Boshi here, and we're not in raid today, but we are going to go ahead and take a look at some of the new champions being added in update 4.5, so let's jump into it. Alright guys, so update 4.5 is coming out on Thursday along with the new traditional fusion for Mother Cybele. Now this time around I did not make a dedicated video for the fusion, but it's actually a good thing just because we get to look at the kit along with the whole booking situation, and we also get to look at the epics and rares involved in it, so you can kind of get a big overview and I can give you my thoughts on the fusion as a whole. Now along with the fusion and their materials, there also seems to be 3 other champions being added into the game as well, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at them. The only champions I will not be taking a look at today are going to be the fragment champions being added into the Doom Tower, and honestly it's just because of the fact that it's going to make this video extremely long, and I think it's already going to be a long video as is. So if you guys want me to make a dedicated video for the fragment champions, go ahead and let me know down in the comment section below. Like with all review videos, I will put content chapters down in the description so you guys can jump to a specific champion to hear my thoughts on them. But yeah, let's go ahead and just jump right into the kits. So the very first champion is going to be Leorius the Proud. He is going to be a Void Skinwalker champion, and he's going to be attack based. So I already like this just because Skinwalkers definitely need some love right now, and adding a Lego definitely fits that. So yeah, really excited for this. So on the A1 we have Lion's Twin Claws, attacks one enemy 2 times. Each hit has a 60% chance of placing a big decreased defense debuff for 2 turns, and then damage increases by 20% if the target has less than 60% HP. Very solid A1, attacks twice. The 60% chance is a little bit low, but you do get 2 chances at dropping that big or getting that big drop defense. And then I like the little added bonus of getting that 20% extra damage for when the target is lower on health. Really cool for boss fights and stuff like that. So very solid. Booking the A1 is only going to increase damage, so books are definitely not needed. But yeah. On the A2, we have attacks all enemies 2 times, and the passive effect of this champion is immune to all CC looking debuffs when this skill is not on cooldown, on a 3-turn cooldown. So right off the bat, this screams PvP to me, just for the fact that he will not be CC'd before he gets a turn, which is a really solid effect. Once again, booking is not a big deal here because it is just increased damage, but I guarantee the multipliers are going to actually probably be really good on this A2 because it looks like it's going to be his nuking ability. On the A3, we have Awesome Roar, attacks all enemies, has a 80% chance of placing a True Fear debuff for 1 turn, and then also before attacking has an 80% chance of placing a Weaken debuff on all enemies for 2 turns. And this is going to be on a 4-turn cooldown. Booking can get you up to a 100% chance to land that True Fear and Weaken, but once again, books are not needed here. 80% chance is a very solid chance to land these debuffs, so really like this ability. Like the fact that he brings his own weaken and decreased defense with him as he's an attack-based champion, so very solid A3 as well. But yeah. On the passive, we have True Grit, active effect of instantly places an unkillable buff on this champion for 1 turn before receiving a fatal hit, which once again screams to me PvP just because of the fact that if he goes second, he's guaranteed a turn, guys. Just because of the fact that he places unkillable, and then obviously the A2 prevents him from being CC'd if he hasn't taken a turn yet. Now obviously he will not get around things like Rhodos or Genbo or Genzins, people that ignore the unkillable effect, but yeah, you just make sure that you don't put him up against that team. On the passive effect, you have gains damage as the champion's HP decreases by 1% for every 1% of HP loss, which goes along with the fact that if he gets slammed with a nuke, he'll go down to 1%, increasing his damage by 99%, but he's guaranteed a turn. So yeah, this is actually a really cool passive, especially for an attack-based champion, and you can combo this with a lifesteal set or a bloodthirst set so he can regain his health and possibly proc his passive again later on if he survives that long. So very solid passive to go along with his kit. I think he is going to be a very solid champion, and what I think the biggest thing with him is the fact that you can play with this Lego without books and it's not going to affect him too much unless the damage is really needed, but overall it's just going to make him that much better. So yeah, that is what I like, and the fact that he's only 10 books, which is very rare nowadays. So yeah, and just to throw that in there, he does have an aura, which is increased ally crit rate in all battles by 24%. I'm not a big fan of ally crit rate auras because I think you should build all your damage dealers to 100%. But yeah, but overall, very, very solid. And do remember that it is 2 times Void this weekend, so you might have a chance at pulling this guy. I will definitely be jealous of anyone that pulls this guy. So yeah. Let's go on to Mother Cybele. So Mother Cybele is going to be the traditional fusion for this fusion event. And I'm going to go ahead and read through all the abilities and then kind of give you my overall thought on it because they all kind of mesh together and work together. And so it's hard to explain why, like a reasoning for an ability without going through the rest. So on the A1, we have a basic Mask of the Dread. And actually, let me go through the regular stuff. She is going to be Force Affinity, a support type champion for Night Rev. We just did have a Night Rev fusion that was Force. I wish they would stop giving Force champions because Faction Wars 21 has the Valkyrie wave and Force just does not do well. So stop it, Plarium. But yeah, so on the A1, we have Mask of Dread. Attacks all enemies, has a 25% chance of landing a big decreased speed debuff for 2 turns, and then fills this champion's turn meter by 15%. You can up that 25% chance up to a 50% chance to land that big decreased speed. And it's an AoE A1, so always a candidate for a stun set. She is going to be a support type champion, so fits right in with that. On the A2, we have Soul Shepherd, places a Revive on Death buff and a 60% increased defense buff on all allies for 2 turns. We've seen this combination of buffs before. I do think you'll need to book this ability down to a 3-turn cooldown if you are going to use her. But yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. On the A3, we have Uncanny Transfer. Swaps HP with an ally. Very unique ability. I believe only one other person does that. If this champion's HP is equal to or higher than the target's after the swap, fill this champion's turn meter by 40%, places a 30% increased speed buff on this champion for 2 turns, and then places a block damage buff on the target ally for 1 turn because they have the lower health. If this champion's HP is lower, you pretty much swap everything, but we'll add a block damage buff to herself. Well, yeah, so like I said, you'll swap everything. You'll increase the target's turn meter, you'll give them increased speed, you'll put block damage on yourself, but if it is you that has a lower health, it'll also place 2 continuous heal buffs on that on this champion, and you can drop this down to a 3-turn cooldown, which, once again, if you're going to use this ability, I think you need to book it, but I actually would turn this ability off, and we'll talk about that in a second. And then with the passive, which works with her whole kit, fully heals the ally with the lowest HP whenever this champion is killed, so she is meant to die, but then heals all allies by 20% of their max HP and fills the turn meter by 15% whenever this champion is revived, which works very, very well with the A2, right? She dies, she revives, you're healing full the lowest HP, you're healing everyone by 20% of their max HP, and then you're filling turn meter. So she is meant to be a very unique champion in my opinion, and she has this feel about her where she's supposed to be looped to death, right? She's supposed to die, proc her passive continuously. Her passive does not have a cooldown. So my thought on this was to put her in a reflex set, turn off her A3, and just have her A1 and A2 constantly putting revive on death. So she just can constantly revive and heal and turn meter boost everyone. That is my first thought of it. When it comes to unique champions like this, though, typically they're used somewhere or they're made for a purpose. And so I'm thinking she might have a purpose on the new bomb boss that is coming out, possibly in the Doom Tower. But yeah, we'll have to see. The aura on her is extremely good, though. Increase ally speed in all battles by 24%. All battles speed at 24% is very, very good. So it can definitely be used there. But yeah, when it comes to her whole kit as a whole, I think this makes things like using attack-based champions very viable, just because she can protect them with the revive on death along with the heal. But yeah, overall, very weird kit. Do I say you go for her? I think you should go for every legendary that you can get a guarantee on. But overall, she's definitely a unique one. So let's go ahead and take a look at the epic counterparts to her to see if it's going to be worth fusing her. So on the first fusion material, it's going to be Magnarr. So Spirit HP based champion with the Demon Spawn faction. So on the A1, we have Superheated Hammer. Attack one enemy has a 45% chance of placing a big decreased defense debuff for 2 turns, has a 100% chance instead if the target is under an HP burn debuff. Looks like you can book up the chance. I would say books would be wasted here, just bringing HP based champion to get that 100% to drop the defense, but that's just me. So weird A1 that you can book up a chance, but you have a 100% chance if you provide something else. So yeah. On the A2, we have Percussive Pound. Attack all enemies, places an extra hit on enemies without HP burn debuffs, but has a 50% chance of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn on enemies under an HP burn debuff. You can drop this down to a 3-turn cooldown. Once again, unless the multipliers are really good, you will want to bring HP burn debuff to provide a little bit of CC for your team. Weird A2, once again, so far this champion is just weird. On the A3, we have Fan the Flames. Attacks one enemy, applies a debuff spread effect, not a very common ability. Taking 2 random debuffs from the target and placing them on all enemies under an HP burn debuff. He is very reliant on HP burn debuff, and the debuff spread is only usable if everyone else is under HP burn, so you need an AoE HP burn champion. And then we'll also increase the duration of HP burn debuffs on all enemies by 1 turn. Will not spread any type of CC debuff, and this can drop down to a 3-turn cooldown. Can be useful in things like Spider possibly, but you really don't want anything beyond having HP burn on everyone. So the A2 would be nice to stun the Spiderlings to make the dungeon go a little bit quicker. But yeah, the A3, not sure I'm seeing a use for it. On the passive, we have Flesh Melter. This champion heals by 1% of their max HP every time anyone in battle takes damage from an HP burn debuff, so would heal extremely well in something like the Spider boss. But unless they are going to be a tank, which they do not provide a provoke or anything, there's little to no reason to have this. But yeah. And then you have the Aura, increase ally defense in Doom Tower battles by 30%. Not really seeing a use for him in Doom Tower though. So I think Spider Boss on 25 is magic, which would be opposite affinity, so he would be the primary target, I believe. Don't quote me on that. But if that is the case, you could bring him in to provide a possible stun if he doesn't get a weak hit on the Spiderlings. But the fact that he can just heal every time a Spiderling takes an HP burn, that could be possibly what he needs. He is an HP based champion, so you can build him with a lot of HP. So yeah, that is the only place I can see him being viable. Let's see, Conellia is going to be another fusion material, so magic support type faction for dwarves, not for faction, for the dwarves. So definitely already going after her. I love dwarves, so that's cool. On the A1, Surprising Swiftness, attack one enemy has a 40% chance of increasing the cooldown of one of the target's skills by 2 turns at random. Can up this to a 50% chance. Not a big fan of the whole randomness. I wish it was just all abilities, but that would probably be too strong in my opinion. So yeah, the A1 is meh. On the A2, we have Piece of the Deep. Basic has a 80% chance of placing a sleep debuff on all enemies for 1 turn. You can up this to a 100% chance. Not a big fan of the sleep debuff just because it's so easily broken. So if you ascend this ability, it will do the exact same thing, but you'll gain I'm guessing you'll gain the passive effect of whenever an ally loses a sleep debuff placed by this skill, has a 50 or a 70% chance of replacing it with a fear debuff for 1 turn instead. So not liking this ability. So sleep debuff is bad already. The fact that if you lose it, which also does mean that you can hit it off of them, that it has a chance to add a fear, but it's not even a true fear. So not a very reliable CC ability at all. So not a big fan of the A2, unfortunately. I hate when dwarves have bad kits, but yeah. But you can drop this down to a 3-turn cooldown, so I guess there's something there. Maybe usable in PvP. On the A3, we have Revitalizing Rest. Places a sleep debuff on an ally for 1 turn, heals that ally by 50% of their max HP, and fills their turn meter by 50% whenever the sleep debuff expires or gets removed. So pretty unique ability. I kind of like it. And then heals that ally by 100% and completely fills their turn meter if the sleep debuff is lost due to taking damage from an enemy. And this is going to go down to a 2-turn cooldown with books. So actually, I really like this ability, and the reason why is for PvP and possibly even PvE. Just because, like right off the bat, I think of Mountain King, right? Because Mountain King is extremely slow, and so you can actually use this ability, place it on Mountain King. You're definitely going to take damage, especially in PvP, because everything's typically AoE. He's going to wake up, heal, and also get 100% turn meter. So you can make him extremely slow with HP percent boots and whatnot, and he's going to get a turn at full health, hit like a truck. It can be on a 2-turn cooldown, so you can actually build her very supporty with high health or high defense, possibly reflex set to constantly be able to A1, A2, or A3 back and forth. But yeah, that's just something fun I just thought of. Really cool ability, very unique. Not sure how useful she actually is going to be, but yeah. With the aura, increase ally speed in all battles by 18%. Very solid aura. Not exactly sure where you'd bring her to put her lead though. But yeah, overall, not bad. Next one is going to be Jurojin. So Spirit HP based type champion for the Shadowkin. So we on the A1 we have Monk's Spade. Attack one enemy has a 45% chance of placing a decreased attack debuff, the big version, for 2 turns. You can up this chance to a 60% chance. Very solid A1. Brings a very big debuff to the team. So really solid. On the A2, we have Fated Duel, places a shield buff on this champion for 2 turns equal to 25% of their max HP, then attacks one enemy, places a Provoke debuff for 1 turn. If the target's max HP is equal to or lower than this champion, the Provoke debuff cannot be resisted. So yeah, right off the bat, can be down to a 3-turn cooldown. Booking will increase the shield and the damage, so I think the book is going to be good. I don't know about the shield and the damage. It's not that important. This could definitely be a usable thing for, I guess, Magma Dragon, because you're placing a shield on yourself. Places a provoke debuff for 1 turn. I wish it was a lower cooldown though, because you need a more reliable provoke. But yeah, it can be definitely useful for there. But yeah, not the greatest A2, I must say. On the A3, we have True Smite. Attack one enemy will ignore 25% of the target's defense, will also ignore unkillable and block damage buffs. Can drop this down to a 3-turn cooldown. Depending on the multipliers, this actually could be a really good ability. It's kind of weird though that he has a provoke ability on the A2, but then it seems like he really wants to do damage on the A3, so we'll see about that. On the passive, we have Smiles at Death. Will receive 25% less damage from enemies' attacks when this champion HP drops to 50% or below. Not the greatest passive. I like the fact where they're going with it, just because the whole provoke, he will receive, he's going to receive damage. So that reduced damage is definitely going to help because he'll be taking damage throughout the fight. But yeah, not the craziest passive. Aura, increase ally HP in all battles by 25%. Pretty solid aura. I could definitely see him being useful in faction wars. But other than that, maybe Magma Dragon, but like I said, you need a more reliable provoke. But yeah, that is that. Okay, the next one is going to be Tolf the Maimed. So he is going to be a void HP based orc. So A1, Blade Hand Butcher. Attack one enemy 2 times. Each hit heals this champion by 30% of the damage inflicted. This attack cannot be critical, so you're definitely not going to be building crit on this guy. He is an HP based champion, so you usually wouldn't. Purely damage books though, so definitely not worth booking. So on the A2, we have Cut Wide Open. Attack one enemy when not attacking bosses, inflicts pure damage, and decreases the target's HP to 50%. That seems pretty big. Okay. So inflicts damage based on this champion's max HP instead, and places a stun debuff for 1 turn if the target is already that already has less than 50% HP. So if you're attacking anyone under 50% HP, he's going to do damage based on his max HP. If you're attacking anyone above 50%, it's just going to drop them straight down to 50%. So it can be useful when, I guess, going against tough or higher end dungeons, but it's only 1 enemy. So yeah, inflicts damage based on this champion's max HP when attacking a boss, and this attack cannot be critical. Can drop this down to a 3-turn cooldown. So yeah, he's just going to be, you build a lot of health on him. He's going to be useful in taking down trash just because he just automatically drops into 50% with his A2. But yeah, very unique ability. I want to play with him to see how he is though. And then you have his passive Armor Cracker, decreases the value of all enemy shield buffs by 50% at the start of every turn, then increases this champion's max HP by the same amount, up to 25% of their max HP. Okay, so that could be kind of unique, very useful against stuff like Valkyrie, stuff like that. So maybe Doom Tower waves can be a really good thing, and the fact that he um, can up his own max HP, which means he will deal more damage. The fact that he can't crit makes me think that maybe his multipliers are actually decently high, so he actually might be a hard-hitting HP-based champ. So yeah, we'll have to see about that one. Very cool though. And then, so that is it for the fusion materials. So overall, I'm not seeing any of these champions that are absolutely needed, to be honest. Tolf the Maimed is the one that like kind of interests me, along with obviously the dwarf, but you definitely can get by without using the dwarf. Overall, though, when I come to say if the fusion is going to be worth actually fusing Mother Cybele, in my opinion, I would say yes. Just because unique champions usually have unique uses. But yeah, that's going to totally be up to you. If you guys find any uses or you can think of any uses that you guys think of, let me know down in the comment section. I would love to know because, you know, who knows if I actually go through with the fusion. Most likely I will, but just in case. But yeah, let's go ahead and go through some of the champions that are also being added. We also still have the rares. So this is going to be a Void Epic that's being added into the game, not part of the fusion. So he's going to be a Void support type Urogrim tribe champion. So on the A1, we have Skull Staff, attack one enemy 3 times. When ascended, attacks one enemy 3 times. Each hit has a 25% of placing a poison debuff for 2 turns, and it's the big poison. And you can up that to a 30, 40, 50% chance. 25, 35, 40, 45% chance, sorry, placing these poisons. So not the highest chance, but 3 hits is really good. And you have 3 chances at doing the big poison, so definitely a really cool thing. On the A2, we have Tingling Teacher, removes all debuffs from an ally, then heals them by 40% of their max HP on a 3-turn cooldown if you book it. So very good cleanse in all honesty, so really like the A2. And then we have on the A3, Bizarre Vapors, places 3 5% poison debuffs on all enemies for 2 turns, very bad L-like. And then also places 2 15% continuous heal buffs on all allies for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. Definitely bad L-like. So I did hear about this guy. He is a very, he has a bad L type of kit. Obviously, bad L's, like you pretty much combine this guy's A2 and A3 together. But yeah, overall, extremely good champion, I feel like. I think overall, he would be a epic to go for. And he has an increased ally speed in all battles aura by 20%, which is extremely solid. So, actually a Void Epic that I really want to try out. Yeah, I think he'll be really good in Dragon, and also maybe possibly Clan Boss as well. So overall, really cool. All right, guys, let's go through the rares very quickly. So we have Ashwalker, Night Rev Void Champion, attack one enemy. If you ascend it, attacks one enemy, resets the cooldown of Devastator, which is going to be his A2 if it kills an enemy. So definitely, you know, a weird A1, very, very basic. So Devastator is his A2, attack one enemy, has a 65 or a 85% chance of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn, decrease the turn meter of all enemies by 10% if this attack is critical. Very unique A2. The fact that you can reset possibly is very nice. So decrease turn meter only by 10% though. He is a rare. But yeah, very unique A2. On the A3, we have Backbreaker, attacks all enemies, has a 75 or 100% chance if you book it of placing a low weaken debuff for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown if booked. AoE weaken for a rare, definitely not a bad thing. And then ally speed in all battles by 12%. Very good aura actually for a rare. So overall, decent rare. We have Candleguard, magic rare, attack dwarf, light of scrutiny, attack one enemy, has a 40% chance, can buff that up to a 60 of removing 1 random buff, has a 70% chance of stealing a random buff instead if the target has 3 or more buffs. Not a big fan of stealing buffs it's just not a big thing. So yeah, don't like the A1. On the A2, we have Triumph Cry. Attack all enemies has a 50 or a 75% chance if you book it of placing an AoE or placing a 15% weaken. So an AoE weaken ability on a 3-turn cooldown. Very solid ability overall for a rare. And then we have the A3 Focused, places a low version of increased attack and a low version of increased crit rate buff on this champion for 3 turns, then attacks all enemies on a 4-turn cooldown. Very selfish ability. Depending on multipliers, could hit possibly decent for a rare for the or for the attack secret room. But yeah, overall not the greatest rare, but not terribly bad either. So we have Hellfreak, Spirit, attack for Demon Spawn, attack type. Vile Blades attacks one enemy 2 times. Each hit has a 20% chance of placing a big decreased defense debuff for 2 turns. That chance is very low, and you can only up it up to a 40% chance. But he does provide a big decreased defense, but it is for a single target, so that's pretty major for a rare. On the A2, we have Mind Games. Attacks one enemy has a 50 or a 75% chance, if you book it, of stealing all buffs from the target before attacking on a 3-turn cooldown. Could be useful, I guess, in PvP if you really wanted to steal like Unkillable, maybe in Faction Wars as well. On the A3, we have Worst Nightmare. Swap HP with an enemy, then grants an extra turn. On a 4-turn cooldown, could be cool if he gets hit hard. He is an attack-based champion, then you swap over, take someone's full health, and then yeah. So that's pretty cool, I guess. And then Aura, increase ally speed in all battles by 10%. They are really liking the speed auras in this update. So solid aura for a rare once again. And then the last rare for the fusion is going to be Lumberer, the force attack based champion, and he's going to be for the Urogrim tribe. Gigantic pulverizers. Attack one enemy has a 30% chance or a 50% chance if you book it of placing the low decrease attack debuff for 2 turns. Also has a 40% chance if you book it of increasing the duration of any decreased defense debuffs by 1 turn. Actually it's a single target decrease. Yeah, not a great A1, and the chances are kind of low, so not a big fan of that. On the A2, we have Flatten. Attack one enemy has a 50% chance or 75 if you book it of placing a big decreased defense debuff for 1 turn or for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. Pretty major, once again though, single target. So yeah, could be useful. And then we have Massive Momentum, places a 15% increased crit damage buff on this champion for 2 turns, then attacks all enemies on a 4-turn cooldown. Nothing special there, unless the multipliers are there. But yeah, rares are very basic. I think they're trying to up their game on rares though. I must admit, the AoE weakens, the big decreased defense on some of these, even the auras, the increased speed. So yeah, they're trying to up their game on rares, make them a little bit more useful, which I respect. And then the last champion is going to be a legendary Void for Skinwalkers again. So they're getting double love this time around. So we have the A1 Fiery Battle Axe. Attack one enemy has a 50% chance of placing a big decreased defense for 2 turns. Has a 100% chance of placing a big decreased defense debuff for 2 turns on targets before attacking. If the target is under an HP burn debuff, another champion based on around HP burn. I don't know if HP burn is just going to be a major thing or what it's going to be, but yeah, could be good. The fact of the matter is the books don't increase the chance though, so bringing an HP burn debuff is just going to allow for that guarantee, and you're not going to be wasting books on the A1, but it is only damage books, so keep that in mind. On the A2, we have Cunning Chaos. Attack all enemies has a 75 or 100% chance if you book it of placing an HP burn debuff. This guy brings his own HP burn debuff, so that's always nice. And it's going to be a 3-turn AoE HP debuff, and then has a 75 or 100% chance, if booked, of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn on targets with 50% turn meter or more. Has a 100% chance, if booked, of placing a 30% decreased speed debuff for 3 turns on targets with less than 50% 50% turn meter on a 3-turn cooldown. So constant HP burn debuff, possible stun, possible decreased speed. Going to be extremely good for a spider boss, guys. So really, really cool. I like that. On the A3, we have Burning Regret. Attack one enemy. Damage increased by 40% for each active HP burn debuff in battle, up to 400%. Definitely a spider boss. champion. Also has a 75 or 100% chance, if booked, of decreasing the target's turn meter by 15%, decrease the target's turn meter by an additional 15% for each active HP burn debuff in battle on a 3-turn cooldown. Yeah, guys, this screams nothing but Spider Boss. So overall, really like this kit, actually, and really hoping to pull one of these. And then you have the passive Inner Heat. Whenever an ally receives a freeze debuff, has a 50% chance of replacing it with an HP burn debuff for 2 turns instead. This debuff cannot be blocked or removed. Whenever an ally or enemy is under HP burn debuff, this champion is immune to CC effects. So possible use in PvP. HP burn debuff is rough to use in PvP though, in my opinion. So yeah, but with this passive, you can pretty much guarantee HP burn debuff 100% of the time. If you bring some freeze champions, can pretty much act as an HP burner as well. But yeah, overall, really love this kit. The chances are high enough that you don't necessarily have to book it, but in my opinion, I would book this because of the cooldown reduction as well, along with the 100% chance to do things. But yeah, very solid Lego for Skinwalkers again. So they're getting 2 solid legendaries this time around. So really like that. But yeah, that is it, guys. I shouldn't say that's it. That was a really long video, so I apologize for that. But hopefully you guys enjoyed my insight to some of these champions. Let me know if you guys are going to be going for Mother Cybele or if you guys are just going to go for the epics. In my opinion, once again, I think Mother Cybele is worth getting just because unique kits usually mean unique use. But yeah, let me know, and I will talk to you guys later, guys. See ya.